as the largest economy in Africa, there is no doubt that Nigeria has a huge economy stimulated by vast natural and human resources. The oil sector has been the driving force since the 1970s, but perennial drop in price of crude oil of late has made the economy to struggle. Coupling with the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria's economy in 2020 was forced into its deepest recession in 2 decades. However, glimpses of recovering started showing up in 2021 as pandemic restrictions were eased, oil prices started improving, and policies to counter the economic shock were implemented by authorities. The federal government policies hinged at harmonizing exchange rates, eliminating gasoline subsidies, adjustments in electricity tariffs to more cost-reflective levels, cut in non-essential spending, and enhancement in debt management, as well as increased transparency in the public sector. The Economic Sustainability Plan, which was launched in 2020 by the federal government to run till 2023, is said to be playing a pivotal role in economic growth and development of the nation. In October 2021, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, upgraded its earlier April forecast for Nigeria's economic growth in 2022 and 2021 from 2.3% and 2.5% to 2.7% and 2.6% respectively, with IMF citing recovery in non-oil sectors and rising price of crude oil. Now, what were those key impactful economic policies that helped Nigeria build resilience in 2021? And how can the country maintain sustainable growth in 2022 to make life better for the citizens? This will be the focus on the program Igeria Today. I am Lydia Ochi. Welcome to the program. With me in the studio is a development economist, Professor Emeka Okengo. Happy New Year. I'm glad to have you on the program for the first time this year.
Thank you very much. I'm happy for the promotion. I haven't become a professor yet.
Oh, that's a professor. Now, also joining us, we hope to join an economic analyst, Yushau Aliu, also a regular face. And as soon as we establish connections with him, we'll have the conversation with him. Now, let me start with Dr. Okengo. In February 2021, the National Bureau of Statistics announced that Nigeria exited its second recession in 5 years by a slight increase of 0.11%. And in October same year, IMF upgraded its forecast for Nigeria's economic growth in 2022 and 2021 to 2.7% and 2.6%, like I said earlier. Now, these were signs that the Nigerian economy didn't do bad in 2021. What will be your overview?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year, Nigerians. Economic growth or development is work in progress. But it's also important that we break them into the 2 broad sectors, what you call the formal economy, which we're talking about now, and then largely the non-formal economy or the informal economy or the underground economy. And this is where people will say to you, yes, the formal economy is growing, but it's not impacting on us. Okay, so, and this is where you now start seeing government now say, oh, we want to make this growth more inclusive. It is that challenge of inclusiveness that will actually form the fulcrum of now being able to probably assess to what extent our economic policies have helped. No doubt about it. The major policy, and anybody who wants to interrogate or juxtapose what these discussions will be, the ERGP, okay, which was launched in, like you said, in 2017, and it had, a single purpose of stabilizing the macroeconomic, indices of a country, and then had a primary goal of, keeping inflation under the single digits, and then making certain that we'll now have a growth of a minimum of about 4.49%. But all this didn't happen for a variant of reasons. And you touched on the most important, and even that, when you put it against the projections of the IMF, is going to be falling flat on its face. And it is this COVID-19, call it Omicron, call it Delta, call it whatever. Yes, whatever it is, it's made a mess of every projection. And it is making it impossible for people to even plan, because in this 1 minute, sometime in Christmas or during that where a lot of people used to travel globally, you saw flights being cancelled, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 flights, being cancelled. And I mean, these were plans, these are flights that are already scheduled, and they just had to be cancelled because of some alarm or the other. So for us as a country, moving forward, in your intro, you are talking about what are those places, what are those things we can do to make certain, that will sustain. So, but I think now with my intro, you might need to rephrase your question, okay, to say what are those things that we need to do to be able to keep the formal economy going, and what are those things we need to do to be able to now make growth of the informal sector more inclusive. This will be where the challenge is, because if we focus on basically what the statistics or pronouncements of the MBS, we're basically just going to be talking about statistics gotten from the formal economy. And then everybody says, okay, you people are growing, but Nigerians are dying. And then this is where you also need to begin to look at your subnationals.
Okay. Now, still with you, Dr. Okengu. How vital is the economic sustainability plan in helping Nigeria build economic resilience, especially in the face of COVID-19?
Vital. I mean, how useful has it been? It's everybody can see, it's helped. It's helping, okay, because it's pointed the way to go. It's made, government more focused. And you see, when you're talking about economic sustainability, you need to look at those very key areas. And in this stage now, for us as Nigeria, it is energy and transport. Have we done so well in energy vis-a-vis what other people have done? Not so well. I mean, look at even Ghana in placing us in the transportation points. I think Ghana is 32%, Kenya is 42%, Egypt is 50-something%, and Nigeria is 31% in our infrastructure, stockpile. But with the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, and then this new midterm National Development Plan that has now been adopted, that has now become the successor plan to the ERGP, there seems to be some consistency. But please remember that I'm talking about the formal sector.
Okay.
All right. It's also important that the formal sector has a challenge of being aligned, being able to build that necessary synergy, okay, with the informal sector, or what you call the underground economy.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the oil sector. Crude oil has been the driver of the Nigerian economy for long. However, the non-oil sector was reported to have stepped up to play a major part in sustaining the economy, as indicated by the IMF. Now, what do you think were the right steps the country took in 2021 for the diversification of the economy?
Well, when you use the word crude oil, then diversification becomes, some kind of misnomer. What we just did was we got lucky that the price of oil, sprang back. Right now, I think they're projecting that it might be hitting about $78 or something. I mean, against the projection of the ERGP of about $50-something, we're actually able to hit about $60 and $62 consecutively for the years of, I think, 2018, 2019. Again, the crude oil sector, I've also argued, has not been the major driver, but has been the major funder. Okay. All right? Now, what's the difference? It actually takes less than 3% of the economy. It's just that it ends that almighty forex that we need. The agricultural sector has actually been the major driver, okay, because it contributed close to about 40-something% to the GDP, while the oil and gas sector contributed about 10% or less. Okay, but now the challenge has been that we've not been able to move agriculture out of the pro-poor status and make it a business like we've made the oil and gas sector. Do you understand?
Yes.
So we've remained very, if you don't mind my being a little bit unkind, very primitive, okay, in developing our agriculture, or what we call agriculture. Okay, we've made it a proper a government thing. It's not become a business. And imagine if we're able to get agriculture that is contributing and then engaging over 80% of the population, though at very low costs. Okay, imagine if we were able to have people who could go to their farms in tuxedos, okay, who could go to their farms in very solid apparels, who could go to their farms dressed the way you're dressed, because they are being supported by technology. Imagine what is going to be happening with a country that has 86 million hectares of land arable, that is cultivatable, but less than 10-15% is actually under cultivation, and 0.5% is supported by technology.
Wonderful. Wow. Now, let's talk about schemes like the MSME Survival Fund and the Cash Transfer Scheme. They were some of the ways government wanted to help small businesses grow and stay strong in business. Now, how impactful was this in building the non-oil sector?
It was very impactful for the people that were lucky. But against a crowd, okay, I'll give you a typical example. You have 10 hungry children and you cook a cup of rice. Have you cooked rice? Yes, you have. Would any of them be filled? No. But I think what we needed to do more was get a proper database of people and then begin to reclassify Nigerians into what you might be able to call vulnerable and most vulnerable. Okay, if you don't have that statistics, you find out that government says to you, oh, we have been able to deal with 1 million people. And then statistics show you that you need over 80 million people need the same help. And every day that passes with the COVID, with the high prices, with people losing jobs, with businesses, closing down, more and more people, are entering into that, poverty trap. And we don't have any social safety networks, which is what all these programs are trying to build. But in trying to build them, okay, you don't build from the roof. You must build from the foundation. Okay, and this is where I think government needs to look at a strategy again, okay, to be able to be sure that when they say you're vulnerable, okay, there are statistics to support the level of your vulnerability. And again, by the time you finish giving somebody maybe 10,000, 100,000, or 1 million naira, and then you're not able to look at those things that also not take the money from him critically. What are these? His house rent. What are these? School fees. Okay, what are these? Transportation. What are these? Health care. Okay, if you're also not building those social services that can also cover, in Kenya, when they got into recession, the Kenyan government said, as long as we're in recession, you landlords, you cannot charge X amount of money for this kind of building, except you're providing XYZ services. And this will just be for a period of 5 years. Everybody is gapsing. Now, that reduced mental health. These days, you'll be driving and be driving so up. You see people talking on the wheels. Okay, you see that we have more people in Nigeria that have become very aggressive, very snobbish, very arrogant, and then you say, this person is a very rude person. But he's actually overwhelmed, okay, by these little things that I think that government, in building that social safety net, would have been able to intervene in. To say, hey, listen, guys, yes, we know we didn't build this house for you, but we have a national calamity. Let's be able to do X, Y, Z until ABC time.
Thank you so much for sharing that insight. Now, there's still a lot more to talk about, but let's go for a break. We'll be back shortly to continue with the discussion. Stay with us.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms. For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Facebook at NTA News 24,
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers. NTA News 24, news and more news.
Welcome back. The program is Nigeria Today, and we're looking at the impactful economic policies in 2021. Still with me in the studio is a development economist, Dr. Emeka Okengu. Now, I will ask you about the tax economy. The tax economy is one that was so talked about so much about in 2021 with the COVID-19, and some were of the view that government policies should have reduced taxation to encourage businesses, while others hinged on increased taxation as a major source of revenue generation, given the low income in this oil sector. Now, how would you assess this area?
Well, there are two ways you look at it. If you look at the CAMA actually protects very small businesses. Okay? And again, remember that we do what we call the payee. Mm-hmm. All right? Okay. You're supposed to be, paying as you earn. And so when you talk about the company income taxes, most of the taxes you pay there are actually now embedded, even in the contracts or projects that have been awarded to you. But that is not to say that tax holidays is not a strong instrument. It's actually one of the instruments that you use in subsidy. Okay? Now, when you want to actually apply subsidy, one of those instruments you use so that you don't make it price differential is to be able to now, apply tax waivers and all that. Okay. Now, remember also that you cannot eliminate tax because that is how government earns its revenue. So it's actually a chicken and egg thing. All right? And this is where most economies who are like us would enter into social services that people pay tax without necessarily knowing that they are paying those tax. All right? Now, I'll tell you a very simple story. If you remember the first time, how did they fund the Petroleum Trust Fund? They just funded the Petroleum Trust Fund by just adding, I think, then 2 naira or 3 naira to the cost of petrol. And then that excess was now being put inside the fund and then given to the fund to be able to now do infrastructure, and social projects. And PTF at one time had more money, than even the federal system. They had so much money that they were building practically every infrastructure simultaneously across the country. And a lot of people didn't know that the moment you got into a filling station and put in 1 liter of fuel, that your pay tax of 3 naira. Okay, so we need to be also innovative, and that's why I'm saying that what is important, what is critical, is that you must be able to look at those social sectors that people need. And again, every other economy in the world runs on taxes. But they do it in such a way that it is embedded in services, and you actually see those services. Okay. And you don't even know when you're paying. You're very happy, to be able to pay. And this is where the VAT thing actually comes in. That is where the value of sales tax, because that's what, VAT is all about. Okay? But it's a little bit complicated here, because first and foremost, like I said to you, a lot of us are in the underground economy. This is where over 85% of Nigerians are. They want these services. You can't tax them because they are not within the tax net. And then when you're now spreading this tax net, they are not spreading it vis-a-vis services. They're spreading it vis-a-vis you must pay. Like in those days where you had tax collectors chasing people all over the place. These days people should get a little bit more innovative. I mean, you need to give before you can take, and then in giving you can keep taking. Exactly. Okay. That's
very. I'm actually getting a wider picture and a deeper understanding of these issues. Now, Dr. Okengu, looking at the money policies, the exchange rate remained high in 2021, and as of today, it is 412 naira 74 kobo. That is the Nigerian naira against the dollar. What is it that the CBN has not done right? That inflation remains high, too, due to these factors.
Money.
Inflation.
Money is something that is determined by the value that follows it. Okay? Now, the greenback, and this is why, take it or leave it, America has done everything, to make sure that oil is discounted against the dollar. And this is why the dollar has remained powerful against every kick, every attempt, by every other economy. They have insisted they will go to war. They have gone to war, subterraneously, openly, to be able to make certain. Because remember that in the days of agriculture, at one time the naira had higher value than the dollar and the pound. What was the naira bringing? It was bringing agro and allied products into the market. So it is not about what the CBN has not done or what the CBN has done, but it is about developing a national productivity, framework that begins to now get these energies from these people I say to you who are in the majority, but who are now outside. I was having a conversation with my friend, and I saying, you see what China did was that China first and foremost looked at its population, okay, and said, we have a population that is resource, but we are going to turn this population into capital. So every Chinese person is going to be contributing, to the per capita income, all right, of China. Right? If you're a potato producer, we're going to be clustering you into potato commercial cooperatives so that we're going to be producing this volume. And then they took this policy of produce at home and export abroad. Okay. They took this policy of go and get as many raw materials as you can get into China from outside China, put a value on them and return it. And this is why they came and started buying up all the whole iron ore and then started producing steel. And the moment they got proficient in the production of steel, China became the fastest growing economy because steel is at the heart of development. In fact, steel is development and development is steel. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if we don't understand these dynamics, that what we need to do, and again, we seem to be looking at Nigeria from only one level, whereas we have 4 levels. And what are these 4 levels? The federal government levels, the state government, the local government, and there's a 4th level called the community development associations, which is where you now, politically, they call it the wards. Okay, now politically everybody goes to the wards, but nobody has been able to now develop this pyramid, this synergy, okay, that now begins to now say, okay, what can Ward A contribute to the national economy? What can Ward B contribute? What can Ward C contribute? And this is why everybody seems to be running around this little barrel of oil that does not have more value. If you look at it, Lee, a liter of water, okay, until very recently, was more expensive than a liter of petrol. When they were selling petrol, for 60 naira, a liter of water was about 100 naira.
Yes.
Do you understand? So these are the things that we've not looked at. There are mineral resources all over the country that have more value. There's a mineral they call lithium.
Okay.
It is a new deal for energy. Everybody in the world is heading towards it. And we have a lot of it in Nigeria. But we're treating it as I don't know, granite, rocks.
Okay. Now let us talk about moving forward. What are your expectations, briefly?
Moving forward is simple. It's for us to be hopeful. I mean, we must all be incurable optimists. We must believe in our country, not for our sake, but for the sake of our children, who must be able to stand strong and put all our hands on the till and push it forward. Okay, the government, Nigerian government belongs to all of us. We are equal stakeholders here. And instead of now pulling down, we should be pushing up. And I believe that if all of us, first and foremost, those who can pray should pray, those who can think should think, those who can walk should walk, but let everybody believe in this country. That's the only country we have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emeka Okengu. That's all we have today on the program Nigeria Today. We thank you so much for your insights and your contribution. We appreciate you and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Don't forget you can watch this edition of the program alongside others on www.youtube.com/NTNews24Hub. I'm Lydia Odijochi. See you same time tomorrow. Goodbye.